Have you ever heard a story so strange that it makes you stop and wonder if love, kindness, and destiny still exist in this world? This story begins with a boy named Arman. He was just 23, a poor university student from a small town. He lived in a broken rented room, working part-time jobs late into the night. Sometimes he ate only once a day, saving every coin for his tuition. But what made him different wasn't his poverty, it was his heart. Arman never complained. Even when life tested him, he smiled. He had no rich clothes, no fancy phone, no luxuries. But he had dignity. He had dreams. One rainy evening, Arman was walking home from his library shift. His shoes were soaked, his books damp. As he reached the corner of the road, he saw a black car parked under a broken street lamp. Inside sat an old woman, struggling to breathe, her hands trembling as she clutched her chest. Without a second thought, Arman rushed to her side. "Are you okay, ma'am?" he asked, his voice trembling. The woman looked at him with tired, faded eyes. She was old, 71, with silver hair elegantly tied, wearing clothes that spoke of wealth. Yet behind that wealth was loneliness. Arman called for help, stayed by her side, held her hand until her driver returned. The woman kept staring at him, not with suspicion, not with fear, but with curiosity. That night changed everything. Her name was Mrs. Samira Rahman, a millionaire widow. Her husband had passed away decades ago, her only son had abandoned her for wealth abroad, and though she lived in a mansion with servants, her heart was empty. She invited Arman to her home the next day to thank him. He hesitated, embarrassed by his worn-out clothes, but he went. Over tea, they spoke for hours. She found peace in his simple words. He found wisdom in her stories. Day after day, they met again, not as millionaire and poor student, but as two souls, lonely in their own ways. Then one evening, she said something that shook him. "Arman, would you marry me?" His teacup nearly slipped from his hand. "Marry you. Ma'am, you're—" "I know," she smiled, her wrinkles deepening. "I am 71, and you are young. People will laugh. They will curse you. They will call you a gold digger. But I have no one. And you have a heart that sees beyond wealth. I don't want to die alone." Arman couldn't sleep that night. Society's voices haunted him. They will mock you. They will say you married her for money. But another voice inside whispered, "This woman is alone. She has no one. You can give her respect. You can give her peace." A week later, in the quiet of a small wedding hall, Arman stood beside Mrs. Samira. There were no flowers, no friends, no blessings from society, only whispers and judgmental stares. But when he held her hand, he felt something unexplainable. He didn't marry her for wealth. He married her for humanity. Little did he know, 7 days later, his life would change forever. The mansion felt huge, empty, almost like a museum. For Arman, it was another world: marble floors, golden chandeliers, walls filled with portraits of people long gone. But behind all that grandeur was silence. A silence so heavy, it could break the heart. The first few days of marriage were strange. There was no romance, no desire. Instead, there was respect. Arman would sit by her side, listen to her stories of her youth, her husband, and her son who left her behind. One evening, he asked softly, "Do you ever feel angry at your son for abandoning you?" She smiled faintly, though her eyes glistened. "No, Arman. Anger is heavy. I only feel forgotten." Her words pierced his soul. Every night, she would walk to the balcony, gazing at the sea. Arman noticed her holding an old photo of a young man in military uniform. He once asked who it was. Her hands trembled. "My husband," she whispered. "The only man who truly loved me. He died protecting this country. Since then, I've lived, but not really lived." Arman slowly realized, behind her wealth was a woman who had cried more tears than most people could imagine. On the 5th night, she cooked for him herself. Simple lentils and rice. "Eat," she said, like a son would eat his mother's food. Arman's eyes filled. He wasn't her son, but in that moment, he felt the warmth of a family he never had. But on the 7th day, everything changed. They were sitting in the garden when she suddenly clutched her chest. Her face turned pale, her breath shallow. "Madam," Arman shouted, rushing to her side. She held his hand tightly, forcing an envelope into his palm. Her voice was weak, trembling. "Arman, listen to me. Don't cry. I knew this time would come. Promise me you'll open this letter only when I'm gone." Tears rolled down Arman's cheeks as he screamed for help, but by the time the ambulance arrived, her hand had grown cold. In just 7 days, she had entered his life, and now she had left him, leaving behind only silence, and an envelope. That night, Arman sat alone in her study. His hands shook as he opened the envelope. Inside was a letter, and a set of legal documents. The letter began with trembling handwriting. "My dear Arman, if you are reading this, it means I am gone. I knew my days were numbered. I didn't marry you because I wanted love in the usual sense. I married you because I wanted to leave this world with dignity, holding the hand of someone who cared, not for my wealth, but for my soul. I saw the hunger in your eyes, not hunger for money, but hunger for knowledge, for dreams, for a better life. That is why I chose you. I am leaving everything I own, the mansion, the bank accounts, the businesses, in your name. But listen carefully, this is not for you to live in luxury. This is for you to build, to help, to give hope. Promise me, Arman, don't waste this. Use it to change lives. Let my name live on through kindness, not through forgotten riches. Yours, Samira Rahman. Asterisk. Arman's tears fell onto the paper. He couldn't believe what he was reading. This woman, who knew him only for days, trusted him with her entire life's earnings. The next morning, newspapers screamed headlines. Poor student inherits millionaire widow's fortune. People mocked him again. They said he was a gold digger, a fraud. But Arman didn't reply. Instead, he worked. Within a year, he sold her jewelry, invested her businesses, and built scholarship funds, schools, and free hospitals in her name. Children who couldn't afford education now studied under roofs that read, Samira Memorial School. Patients too poor for treatment found free medicine at Samira Rahman Hospital. The world laughed at him once, now it bowed. Every year, on the day she died, Arman placed fresh white roses on her grave. He would sit there for hours, whispering through tears. You gave me more than wealth. You gave me a purpose. You gave me a reason to live, when I had nothing. And so, a poor student who once couldn't afford a single meal became the guardian of thousands of lives. Not because of money, but because a 71-year-old woman saw the purity of his heart.